And that is 9 straight wins for your Toronto Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. As always, I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden Fabi Wasco. Carter First, too, as well, on our main Twitter account, at Locked On Jays. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, at Locked On Blue Jays. And you guys have been killing it with hitting the subscribe button lately. Keep that going. Keep the Blue Jays fans coming in at Locked On Blue Jays on YouTube. If you're listening to this anywhere else, we appreciate that, too. But we always love to see the subscribers and the comments and everything rolling in on the YouTube page. Keep those going. We love getting your guys' opinions. We got some great comments on the last one from all of you guys. Some people saying they love the show. Some people giving us their takes on some stats and some of the stuff we talk about. All that stuff is absolutely fantastic. And you know what? Since this team is on a 9-game win streak, if you're watching on YouTube, we got the new win streak banner. Hopefully, it's not a jinx. That's all I'm saying. This is the first day we put it up. So 9 in a row wins, 9 games straight. Winning streak banner is up on the Locked On Blue Jays account. Carter, my man, 9 in a row. I could start this by going over numbers. How do you feel, man? Because it is unbelievable, the vibes.
Yeah, never felt better. Just on top of the world right now watching this Toronto Blue Jays team. You just go into baseball games expecting them to win now, especially when you're playing the Chicago White Sox. There is an expectation there with them not being a very great baseball team, but it wouldn't matter if it's them, like the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees, hopefully again. I'd love to play the Yankees every single baseball game if they were on the schedule right now. But it's just, yeah, the vibes are at an all-time high. Every time we think we might get knocked down like a little bit of a peg, like Sean Burke was kind of operating on this lineup throughout the first 3 innings. I had a little bit of doubt in my head. But again, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know why I have any doubt when we've seen this brand of baseball for honestly the last month and a bit now, just continuing to win baseball games, making that 9 in a row, 3 away from tying a franchise record. Just insane stuff from this offense, from this pitching staff, from the bullpen. Just the Toronto Blue Jays are the hottest team in baseball right now. It's not even close.
No, it's not. There's no argument there. Shout out George Springer as well, winning Player of the Week for the AL. So congratulations to him. He's more than well deserved it. Obviously, not his best game yesterday. Obviously didn't get a hit. That's tough to see. But at the end of the day, the guy is on an absolute heater. And I think if you were to put this on one guy, I know we could go Addison Barger as well, but George Springer has been so outstanding that even with the great performance Addison Barger has been putting up, it outshines that a little bit. But with George Springer having a down day, it let everybody focus again on how outstanding Addison Barger has been. We're going to get into sort of all the stats, break down the game and everything like that. Carter, 9 in a row. The Yankees on a little bit of a spell. The Houston Astros losing yesterday. The Tampa Bay Rays losing yesterday. The Blue Jays now 2 games back of second place in the entire AL. And I know that this is one of your big questions that maybe we're going to save for later, but we're here. We're talking about the streak. I know it's early to be standings watching, and it is. We're not even at the All-Star break yet. But when you feel good and you feel like, hey, the AL is catchable at this point if this team continues to play well, it's hard not to do a little bit of that, right? And we can't just, in my head, I'm not looking. I want them to not have a wild card game because this team has not been successful in the wild card series. So I think if you can get one of those top 2 spots and get the bye, maybe that takes a little bit of maybe this team has the yips in the wild cards. So maybe that takes a little bit of it away. I don't know, but that's at least in my head the thought process as we continue to be on an absolute heater of a run here with the Toronto Blue Jays.
You said it's too early to be looking at the standings. I completely disagree. I think it's more than late enough in the season or early enough, whatever you want to say. It's about that time that you should be looking at the standings because the trade deadline's coming up. This is the kind of the time where a lot of the teams are figuring out, are we going to be buyers? Are we going to be sellers? Are we just going to hold at this trade deadline? For me, once you get kind of to the halfway point, once you get 81 games in, I do think that it is time to be looking at the standings. And maybe it's not like, oh, well, we're in the first wild card spot. We're in the first playoff spot. It's more so, hey, like, where are we kind of at in regards to, like, are we a AL East like contender? Are we just kind of a wild card contender? Are we a fringe playoff team? So, like, looking at the standings now, you don't want to, like, right now being 3.5 games up on the New York Yankees, like, that's not really what I'm looking at too much here. Being first in the AL East is definitely a big thing for this baseball team. We want to kind of see, like, especially with the trade deadline coming up, where you want to insert yourself and what your expectations are for the rest of the season. So I think this is like one of the main times that I will be starting to look at the standings. I have been looking at the standings, and every game is only going to mean that much more, especially with this trade deadline, All-Star break, and obviously a playoff push coming up. So I think this would be a very good time to kind of look at the standings, just evaluate how good your baseball team is. And if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, I think it's pretty obvious right now the way things are going. They will be buying, and they should be buying aggressively at this trade deadline. But you brought up another quick sentiment as well. Is that the Houston Astros, a team that is leading their division, team that is second in the AL right now, and the Toronto Blue Jays are only 2 games behind them. That is one thing that kind of on this little bit of a streak that the Toronto Blue Jays have been on has been very refreshing to me. When we've been talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, honestly, since you say 2016, it's been, hey, can this team make the playoffs? Can this team sneak into a wild card? Can we get a home playoff game? It's never been, hey, can we actually get a bye in the first round and avoid the wild card round entirely? So I think that is a very good spot for obviously Toronto Blue Jays fans to be in, and just a refreshing spot, a new kind of perspective to be in. It's like, hey, we do have a shot of being one of the top contenders in the American League right now, and they are in that conversation with the Detroit Tigers, with the Houston Astros, with the New York Yankees, with all of those teams above in the American League that's not as good as it has been in previous years. But the Toronto Blue Jays, you could argue right now, are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire American League.
Yeah, Carter. And you know what? You brought up the trade deadline and that coming across the pipeline very soon. Under a month now, which is just insane. This season feels like it's flying by, but you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun, and man, is it fun watching this team. But in regards to that, me and you have started to build our big trade board, and we'll be releasing that very soon. We'll bring it up on the podcast first, and we'll release it across our social media pages, who we think the targets are. We might do 5, we might do 10. We're still trying to figure out, you know, we only want to put guys that we can really consider. We don't want to just throw names in there. It's not just going to be big fish. It's going to be people that really could be a great addition to this team. Not just, oh, well, you know, Shohei Ohtani would be sick to have. Like, no, we want to put together a realistic trade board that hopefully all of you can add in your pieces. We can update it as the year goes through. So we'll have that ready and available for all of you guys to take a look at within the coming days. Probably looking at next week, we're going to have it finalized for everybody. So you guys will be able to get all of that and give us your opinions on that as well. But Carter, just going back to the standings conversation, we will get into the game because there was some stuff to talk about there. Obviously, it being 9 in a row is huge as well. But Carter, I mean, with this Yankees team a little bit struggling, I think we also have to remember that that's a team that's going to push back at some point as well. You know, we can't we're not writing the Yankees off. You can't. Even the Tampa Bay Rays, even the Red Sox, who have been on a heater lately, none of these teams in the AL you can write off because teams can go on runs. And that's something I just don't want to forget about and think that this team is absolutely unstoppable, even though it feels like that right now, that this Toronto Blue Jays team. There is going to be a point in this season where, hey, they do lose a game or they do lose a series. And I think as fans, we just have to remember to not lose our minds at the first sign of trouble, because we are a very reactive fan base, me included, Carter included. And I just think we have to not temper expectations. That's the wrong thing. Have high expectations. But at the first sign of trouble, don't run away. That's the thing. We just got to keep our heads about us as we continue to be absolutely fired up about all these wins.
See, and there's no reason to freak out whatsoever. This team does lose a series. They're 15 games above 500, so that's the first thing. The Blue Jays have put themselves in a pretty good spot where if they do have a little bit of a hiccup at some point in the schedule, which will happen, like you said, it's baseball, they will be able to overcome that and still be in a very good spot to compete against other teams as well. So when you're playing like this brand of baseball, like you went on the streak, and now you have the ability to just have the games where you're not necessarily playing up to par, and you're not playing up to expectations. But yeah, you're looking at the Yankees, like they will get healthier. You look at the Tampa Bay Rays; they're always going to be a team that has been a thorn in the Toronto Blue Jays side, especially when they have gone head to head. There was one thing I wanted to bring up. It's completely lost on me right now, so I'll throw it back over to you, Brayden. Is there anything specifically from Game 1 of this White Sox series that you want to jump into quickly?
Right away, I mean, it has to be Joey Loperfido. This is a guy, again, that we talked about coming up, what was he going to be able to do after last season? And to me, out of this game, he was the storyline because it just shows how deep, and I don't know if you want to call it lucky or successful, but whatever it is, the Blue Jays are able to call in any guy at any point in a game, and somebody is going to show up. That's how it's felt over the past little bit. It's somebody else's game every day. Is it Joey Loperfido? Is it Nathan Lucas? Is it Addison Barger? Is it Vladdy? Is it George Springer? Is it Bo? Is it Kirky? It doesn't matter who it is. Somebody is going to step up and have a big game. And I think that's what you got to see out of Joey Loperfido, a guy that just got called up and you weren't really sure what to expect of him. But no, he's sliding in and fitting right in. He makes a couple great plays in the outfield as well. I am just really thrilled with the game that Joey Loperfido played. And you know what? Such a smart play. There was a ball hit to the gap. And Joey Loperfido, instead of letting the ball hit off the wall, he slides to cut the ball off to get it back in, which during that play saves a run. And it's the fielding decisions, the base running decisions for the most part, even though Joey Loperfido in the last game had a little bit of a hiccup one. But for the majority of the time, this team is playing smart, confident baseball. And I just see that with, Joey Loperfido maybe having the feeling that, he doesn't have to come in and do something extravagant because this team has been playing so well. He doesn't feel like, it rests on my shoulders if I get called up to do something. It's, I'm going to play my role here. And so I think that this was a great game to see the depth success of the Toronto Blue Jays and what they have. And I was really, really blown away by his game today.
And he has multiple at-bats in the first couple of games that he has called up to the Toronto Blue Jays. You look in the third game of that last series that they're playing the Los Angeles Angels, comes up with a big RBI single. You look at this game, kind of starts the offensive explosion a little bit, hits that home run, comes up with a 2-run single as well. Just a little chopper into the right field, down the right field line. It's been the entire storyline of this season up to this point, is that it doesn't matter who you call up from AAA, if it's David Schneider, if it's Jonathan Clase, if it's Addison Barger halfway through this season. It's just guys are making a difference on this baseball team. You can even look to the bullpen. Brayden Fisher, Lazaro Estrada comes up and gives you 4 innings of 1-run ball. It's just, you're getting production from literally everybody that you could possibly ask for. I brought this up in the last podcast. You can go to my beer league slow pitch team. You could probably find a 5-year-old on the street, put him at shortstop, and somehow he'll be getting outs, catching line drives, whatever it ends up being for the Toronto Blue Jays. There's a magical thing about this season that feels like everything is really working out for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I don't want to completely put this out there as a one-off, but you look at all of these players right now on this Toronto Blue Jays ball club that are exceeding expectations, especially from the offensive side of the ball. When you go down this lineup, you look at Addison Barger, his weighted runs created plus is 133, 33% better than the league average hitter. Ernie Clement is above the league average hitter. Nathan Lucas, Alejandro Kirk, George Springer, Tyler Heineman in a small sample size, David Schneider in a small sample size. You look at the bullpen, there's Brayden Fisher, Yariel Rodriguez, Nick Sandlin has been very good. You look at what this team could do at this trade deadline. Yeah, I'm not saying this is a one-off because there is now with you have Addison Barger, you have some guys, these younger guys that are starting to break out a little bit. You do have some team control there, but a lot of things are working out very well, and you don't have Daulton Varsho, you don't have Anthony Santander. So this is going to be the season that if there was any season in recent history for the Toronto Blue Jays, I think this is the season that you have to go all in at the trade deadline. There's really, as much as I want to say I want to protect Trey Savage and Arjun Amala, they might have to be on the table as well. If this team's going to get that ace that can make this team have a structured and more centralized starting pitching, and you're just not as worried about, the wild card factor where you might have to throw Alek, you might have to throw Max Scherzer. You can get that ace and provide that structure to this starting rotation. This is a team right now, the way things are kind of being built as we continue on through the season. They are being built for a pretty deep playoff run if you can start to shore up this starting pitching and maybe get one more bullpen arm.
Well, Carter, and you brought up the fact that, this team, when have we seen this team be like this? Well, Blue Jays are 53-38, matches the franchise record for most victories before the All-Star break and the longest win streak for the team since the 11-game run in August of 2015. So it has been almost the entire franchise. One more win before the All-Star break, and this is the best this team has ever done. We are witnessing a different brand of Blue Jays baseball right now than maybe ever before seen. And again, am I saying that this matches the 2015-2016 Jays? I am not saying that. It is a very different built team.
It's starting to get there for me. Sorry to interrupt, but we're starting to trend a little bit into that direction. They get like a David Price acquisition. Yeah. I mean, we might have to draw some more comparisons to that ball club.
Yeah, and you might. It's a very different type of team, but the excitement of the fan base, I think it's reinvigorated this entire fan base again. Blue Jays fans from a couple of years ago that maybe didn't watch are coming back. This is a beautiful thing, and I think we have to be excited where we're at right now. We want to get more into the game, but Carter, we do have to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with an absolute ton more. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the greens, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. I have been placing bets like crazy because the Blue Jays have been doing so well, and it's been winning me money, so you might as well take advantage now. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game with your friends, or, if you guys are out somewhere, you can throw some money on. You can keep up to date in the app. It's great. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups and keep everything fresh, whether I'm watching, maybe a team I don't necessarily watch, right? I usually throw a parlay down on the Jays, but I'll throw something down just in the rest of the MLB. So, hey, maybe do I want to keep up with how the Diamondbacks are doing today, or the Padres, or the Cardinals, or whatever it may be? I'm watching different baseball games. I'm a baseball fan at the end of the day. I mean, I'm a Jays fan first, but a baseball fan second. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Carter, I get to do one of my favorite ad reads, and that's Farm to Fork, the best place to get your premium locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms. That's big. So when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian. With this team doing so well, we saw the absolute Canada pride at the game during Canada Day. Shop local, shop Canadian. Farm to Fork is the best way to do that. I'm telling you, they have great products there. Ross Levitan of Locked On Senators had me and Carter down on a week. We got to enjoy some Farm to Fork, and I was blown away, and I'm telling you guys, take advantage of this. Special code for you guys. Use Locked On 40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's Locked On 40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. Carter, my man, as we continue on, obviously we talked about this being sort of a franchise-setting, run here before the All-Star break that the Blue Jays are on. I mean, did you even think about that this could be a franchise record? It sort of didn't even, I didn't even think it was a possibility. I just assumed, there had to have been a time that this Toronto Blue Jays team did better before the break, but apparently not. Apparently this might be the best team before an All-Star break in franchise history.
See, I thought we'd be approaching something. I didn't think this would be the franchise tying win for the most wins before an All-Star break. I kind of figured if they might have one game that they could lose, but I was thinking you get to maybe 57, 58 wins. That's around the franchise record. But hey, here we are. And now there's, 5 more games against the Chicago White Sox and the Oakland Athletics that, again, Sacramento Athletics. I call it the Oakland Athletics. That's something that we went over the Athletic series. Anyway, but you got 5 games against teams that aren't very good. So we went into this 9-game stretch throwing in the Los Angeles Angels as well. Whereas we were like, 6 out of 9. If you go 6-3, we're going to be pretty happy. Now, if you go 6-3 after starting 4-0 on the stretch, I don't think me and you would be that happy after this. So now I think it has to be at least 7-2. You got to, at minimum, win 3 out of the next 5 here, because this Blue Jays team is hot. It's the best brand of baseball they have been playing this entire season. The Chicago White Sox this season have given the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit of trouble, and it looked like throughout those first 3 innings they might go on and do that again, but they have had success against Aaron Savali, so I'm confident for that game. The Oakland Athletics, they are playing at the Athletics ballpark now, in Sacramento, so that is going to be a little bit interesting there to see how the ball flies, especially with the starting rotation. They do have a little bit of a home run problem, so there might be some higher scoring games there. But overall, I mean, it's just funny to see how things can barely turn around in one season. But yeah, I did not have 53 as being that franchise record for the Toronto Blue Jays with wins before an All-Star game. I did finally remember what I wanted to go over at the kind of the end of that first segment. And you kind of brought up that, once this team does lose a series, can you start getting worried? Can you start getting scared for the future? Can that kind of be the momentum shift in a bad way for this Toronto Blue Jays team? And for me, that's not even really a thought that comes into my head. Because when we go into this stretch that the Toronto Blue Jays have been on, how did that stretch start? We lost a series to the Chicago White Sox, one of the worst teams in all of baseball. What did they do after that? They beat the Cleveland Guardians. They rolled over the Red Sox, absolutely stomped the New York Yankees, waxed the Angels, and then here we are on a 9-game win streak. So this team has overcome adversity this entire season, whether it's injuries, whether it's coming off of a tough loss, and they have shown that they have been resilient and are not out of any single baseball game of being top 5 in comebacks in the MLB. Just everything you look at with the Toronto Blue Jays right now is pointing in the right direction. That's why I've been saying this on recent podcasts. I've already said it a bunch here. There's just a completely different feel to this team. If they can keep this going, I think that the Toronto Blue Jays will have a very good shot at least, making an ALDS. We'll start there. We'll go above the wild card round. But my question to you is, when you kind of look at this team right now, and there's been questions I wanted to ask you over the weekend, obviously with all the baseball that happened, hard to get everything in that we want to get in, but the kind of the thing around this Toronto Blue Jays team right now and in Toronto Blue Jays media is this team for real? Is what we're seeing on this winning streak? Obviously, you don't expect them to continue on winning every single baseball game that they play, but is this team for real? Like, can this production be sustained? Can this bullpen be this good for the rest of the season? Now that you have more of a structured starting pitching staff with Max Scherzer, with Eric Lauer, can that continue to be at least good for the rest of the season? And this offense, with all the performance that I kind of went over, Nathan Lucas being an above league average hitter, Addison Barger, just David Schneider when he's in there, Joey Loperfido coming up and being very successful early on. Does this team have the roster construction right now to have sustained success, not even just after this all-star break, but after the trade deadline and into September and hopefully October baseball?
Yeah, so a couple pieces I want to touch on there. So the bullpen, no question in my mind, they can continue to have sustained success. And the only reason I say that is because they were, hampered by the fact that this starting rotation was a little bit in shambles to start the season, right? You might have to throw a bullpen. You might have to throw a random guy that doesn't give you as many innings as you want. It might be whoever, and there was no structure to the starting pitching. So you were having to use that bullpen a whole bunch. And now I'm very not worried at all because there is a structure to the starting pitching. Is it the best? Do you want to see more from, would you rather see Max Scherzer and get more innings and be able to save a little bit of the bullpen? For sure. But no, I'm not worried about this bullpen whatsoever. I think they've continued to get better. When Jimmy Garcia gets back in the lineup, that's going to be massive. Jeff Hoffman's looked really good as of late when he's been in there. So that's a big plus as well. Then to start talking about the starting pitching. The starting pitching for me is iffy because it is a little bit up and down and it is a little bit all over the place. But a lot of these guys are veterans or maybe have been there a long time. I don't want to say necessarily veterans, but they've been there a long time. They know how to fix their stuff. So even if they do go in there and have a bad outing, I think it doesn't take them as long to figure it back out as it might a younger guy that comes up. And eventually you are going to get Alek Manoah back. And actually, I do have an update on that. I just got to pull it up here, Carter. Here it is. Alek Manoah faces live batters the day you guys are watching this today and could head on rehab assignment very soon. So there you go. A little update on Alek Manoah since we got into that. I should have maybe started the episode with that, but there you go. Very interesting piece to see him. How does he, respond to coming back? How does he do in those rehab assignments? I'm not really worried about the starting pitching, but I would say that is one of my more areas of concern. And that's why I think me and you are going to look, when we talk about trade deadline, at a maybe more solidified ace to bring in. Now to look at the lineup. And it depends who you're talking about. Addison Barger, to me at this point, I've seen enough and I believe in him. Is it a one-off season? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think so. I think because we've seen the pieces that he had. It was just, would he ever be able to put it all together? He's putting it together. Could it be a David Schneider early on, when he first came up in 2023? I don't think so. I think this does seem more sustainable than that did. But then you talk about guys like Joey Loperfido, maybe your Nathan Lucases, maybe guys like Davis Schneider. To me, Miles Straw, maybe even. And to me, those pieces are the ride the hot hand pieces. Whoever's giving you the best stuff at the time, that's great. Because right now you're hoping that Daulton Varsho, who was hitting very well when he came back in, hitting for a lot of power, that you hope that he can continue to do that when he returns. and he comes back into this lineup and is, superhuman as he always is. Anthony Santander, we have not seen a good Anthony Santander. I don't know how he's doing. I don't think anybody really has a hot clue. It doesn't sound amazing as of right now, but you don't need him right now. That's the big thing. And then hopefully later on in the season, maybe when this team does hit a little bit of a low point, maybe that's when Anthony Santander, explodes and figures it all out. Maybe he does come back from whatever shoulder thing was bugging him or whatever, and he's totally fine. And he's back to being Anthony Santander. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you if that's going to happen or not. But you have so many capable pieces right now that I'm not worried. But in the same sense, talking about the trade deadline, I also wouldn't hate you bringing in one more power bat and a guy that's proven and has done this time and time and time again. I don't want to see you take a shot on just some random, because you could take a shot on some of these young guys that have been proving it to you through this season. If you're going to get a power bat, I need you to bring somebody in that's going to be worth my while.
See, I think like a power bat in theory is good, but if you're looking at this team, it's like they need an ace more than a power bat. And I just can't see a scenario where they go out and they get an ace and also they get that massive power bat that you're really looking for. And who's on the market for a power bat? That's a whole other conversation that we're going to have, and I'll probably save that for another episode. You kind of unloaded a bunch off there. I'll just try to focus on a few things. You brought up Aston Barger. Is it kind of that Davis Schneider effect that he is having on the season? Davis Schneider, when he went in and had that, I mean, unbelievable stretch. Don't get me wrong, don't want to discount David Schneider at all, but that was 35 baseball games. Aston Barger's at like the 65 now, at least just in this season, not even including last year. And he has 12 home runs. Like, this guy might finish the year with the most home runs on the Toronto Blue Jays. And that was a take that I was going to come into this episode. I kind of talked to you off camera about, was that I think Aston Barger, the way things are trending right now, I know George Springer is going on the loose right now, but I would not be surprised whatsoever if Addison Barger ends the season as the home run leader on the Toronto Blue Jays ball club. He is that good and has that good of a power stick for the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team. I know we know the exit velocities are up there with Aaron Judge, with Vladdy, with Shohei Ohtani. So all the characteristics, like you said, are there for Addison Barger. And I don't even care if somehow this is a one-year wonder. I don't think that's the case whatsoever with Addison Barger. But if he's on pace to hit 30 home runs, that's exactly what this baseball team needs. So I think Addison Barger is the real deal, and I think he will be here to stay. For the starting rotation, again, there are some things you got to be worried about. When we look at the bullpen's just been absolutely unbelievable. But when you're looking at this baseball team and the way things have gone at the start of the season, especially offensively, like you've gotten really good performances from Nathan Lucas. You brought up Miles Straw. I think Miles Straw's fine. He's got like a runs created plus about 75. I don't think it'll get much worse or better for Miles Straw. He's just there to provide you defense. But like Nathan Lucas, you got all these guys that, again, maybe not the guys that you would expect to have this good of performances and are overachieving. But now this is kind of set up for when Daulton Varsho comes back, for when Jimmy Garcia can come back, when Santander comes back, for the more should be reliable guys, the guys that have been at the major league level and have proven that they can have production on a consistent basis. They kind of takes the pressure off a lot of these Buffalo guys, all these guys that you have drawn on from AAA and just fringe MLB guys, that if you have Varsho and Santander come back and just be serviceable and play kind of their average brand of baseball, that takes a lot of the stress and pressure off the heavy load that these AAA guys and the bottom of this order have been carrying up to this point for the Toronto Blue Jays team. So I don't think there is, again, too much to worry about for is this team real or not. I think you can see some guys kind of fall off, but we should have some reinforcements coming in to kind of offset that fall off that may happen with some of these offensive bats for the Toronto Blue Jays team. And I'm at the point now where you're this good, you're 15 games over 500. I'm expecting a big trade deadline splash in terms of a starting pitcher. Not quite to the David Price kind of, massive blockbuster trade that was, but I think there will be a big trade, and it will be a starting pitcher coming to the Toronto Blue Jays. It's one guy that has been thrown around. He is coming from the American League. I really want that. I'm kind of all in on that guy, but I'll save that for the All-Star break when we do heavily dive into the trade deadline and our trade episodes. But we did say we were going to talk about the baseball game. We are still going to do that, but I think we're going to kind of quickly go over it. Brayden, is there anything that kind of stuck out to you from that Game 1 win against the Chicago White Sox?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of touched on a bunch of different things throughout as we were talking, right? We talked about the Joey Loperfido home run. We talked about the Addison Barger one. The Nathan Lucas, the back-to-back was sick. Seeing Nathan Lucas get a pound one out of the park or out of the yard was really nice too. I talked about the Joey Loperfido play in the outfield that I absolutely loved. I think that was a super, super high intelligent baseball player play. And I love those type of things. We saw Miles Straw where he did a fake catch the other game and it goes off the wall and he's able to get it to slow the runner down. It's those type of little things throughout a season that can make a difference. And we see Daulton Varsho do stuff like that a lot of the time too, with his superhuman ability to catch any ball that goes his way. But just with some of these other guys that you maybe don't expect it from, that was really, really cool to see. And then obviously Jose Berrios, six innings, a 1-run ball. I did want to ask you how you felt about John Schneider pulling him after 6 with only about 7. I think it was 78 or 79 pitches.
76 pitches, I believe it
76,
was.
yeah.
I'm okay with it. The way the starting rotation has kind of you need the starting rotation to go out and give you a 5 to 7 innings, but we haven't had an off day in so long. I think this is kind of like a rest provocation thing from John Schneider. 76 pitches, you're up a ton of runs in this baseball game. So I think that goes into it a lot as well. If it's like a 2-1 baseball game, you're probably seeing Jose Berrios roll out there for at least the 7th inning, maybe even the 8th inning. But when you're up 8-1, I mean, just might as well take him out. Robinson Pena, learn Buffaloanese, because I don't see this guy spending too much time with this Toronto Blue Jays ball club. Just, again, like missing spots completely. Alejandro Kirk set up on one side of the plate. Say's on the outside part. He's missing just completely inside, maybe over the middle. Just the command and location wasn't necessarily there. But he does eat a few innings for your team. But you wanted him ideally to eat all 3 of those innings. Doesn't end up doing that. You have to use Nick Sandlin. You have to use Chad Green. So I think he kind of went into the game and didn't really fulfill his role. So I expect him to be sent back down to AAA after that effort. But with Jose Berrios, I'm not overly mad about that. I think it's just the scenario that kind of goes into it. I think that's just giving Jose Berrios some rest after absolutely dominating a Chicago White Sox lineup. Yeah.
And that's sort of how I felt too. I was just a little bit, I didn't really know. I thought it was fine, but then you do throw Pena in and he does give up 3 runs, and that's not a great look. I think it sort of took the steam out of the Jays a little bit at the end of the game, which I didn't love. I think I wanted them to just be able to carry momentum and, maybe not have an offensive explosion, but I think giving up a couple runs sort of in the late game like that isn't the best for the mentality of the team. And then, Addison Barger having to make a throw to Vlad. Vlad misses the scoop, the pick, and, Vladdy gets a little upset. So I think there's just you have to think about the mentality of baseball players sometimes. And in that situation, I guess you want to go to Pena. That is the play in that game, I think, if you're looking at it from a manager standpoint. But then in the other thing, you got to think about your players. And when stuff like the Vlad play happens and you see him get a little frustrated, that's where I sort of go back on it a little bit. So I don't know. I'm sort of in the middle, but at the end of the day, I get it. They got the job done at the end. And that's all I can say. I'm not going to hammer John Schneider for a decision that I probably would have made as well.
Well, and Jose Berrios probably okay with coming out of the game at that point. You don't really see him making a stink whatsoever. I think he understands, like, hey, do we need this 7th inning from you against a White Sox team when we're up 7 runs? Or, hey, are we going to need you for the rest of the season to make another 12, 13 starts for this baseball team to give us a chance and just keep us afloat as we continue down this season, continue down the river, hopefully going to the postseason. So I think there was a bigger picture here is kind of when I'm summing everything up, that's kind of the conclusion that we are getting to. But if the ball keeps rolling, obviously in Toronto Blue Jays land, the series continues on against the Chicago White Sox as they go into game 2, looking for another series win and looking to make this win streak going into double digits. If you didn't know, the Toronto Blue Jays had a 9-game win streak, if you could tell by the banner that Brayden is very proud of if you guys are watching on YouTube. But at times, still more that we are going to talk about. We have a game 2 of a series to preview against the Chicago White Sox coming up here on Locked On Blue Jays.
Carter, I'm also going to throw in just a little couple stats that I've cooked up over the past couple, or just that I actually went after the game.
Stat guy, coming in from the top rope all of a sudden.
It's not crazy, I'm going to tell you that. But it's interesting. It's not crazy, but it's interesting. And it's something I feel like the people might want to see. So, again, we'll see.
Today's episode is sponsored by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a pipe burst. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope, you called the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you do need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or on a computer. Do you struggle with juggling 2 phones to keep business and personal calls separate? I know I did, especially going into Locked On. We do have a bunch of different meetings that we do have, and I like, especially on the weekends, if that's when we're getting Locked On calls, I usually do like separating that personally from our business accounts, because on the weekend I usually am tending to be enjoying myself, so I got to make sure that, hey, I have my personal separate from my business calls to make sure I know exactly who I'm talking to on at any given time. Another nice thing is if you have a business with Open Phone, they have an AI agent that handles after hours calls. They answer common questions and capture leadoff, so you'll never miss a customer again. One thing that definitely sucks is that you have the opportunity to grow your business and you want to be available at all times. Obviously, it is tough to start a business, so you want to have somebody there answering calls, at least providing some sort of response so they know that you are interested in having their business. So it is nice to have that AI agent to cover you when you are not, whether you're sleeping or out with your friends. You got to have a life too, even when you do have a business. So with Open Phone, they are offering Locked On show listeners 20% off their first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That is openphone.com/lockedonmlb. If you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls and no missed customers.
So, Carter, continuing on, before we just get into this, I wanted to update everybody on the MLB leaders in different categories, because we are starting to see the Toronto Blue Jays players creep up in there. And in hits, we got Bichette in fifth place in MLB for hits again. And this is a guy that we have conversations on contract extension, stuff like that. I don't care. Lock this guy up. I need it so badly. We got a comment about this, actually. I got to go back and find it. Maybe I'll get it for you guys next episode, who left that comment. Because it got me looking back into Bichette, and I was like, wait, where is he at in the hit leaders? Because he's always up there, but he's fifth again, Carter. Like, I knew he was hitting the baseball, but he was also out for a couple games, and just, I didn't expect him to be that high. And fifth again, my man.
Yeah, that's just the Bichette difference on the best pure hitters in all baseball. I was trying to think who would be above him, and is that in the MLB or the American League? I know MLB. Like Jacob Wilson is the MLB, so Jacob Wilson would be ahead of him. Aaron Judge probably. I think Jose Ramirez might be another guy that's close to him. Maybe a Shohei Ohtani. So there's.
I'll give you the list.
Just go over the list quick.
Aaron Judge at number 1, Jacob Wilson, Trey Turner, Bobby Witt, and then Bichette. So he's in some pretty elite company there.
Yeah, just, again, one of the best hitters in all baseball, the easiest bounce back candidate of all time being Bichette. Has been a lot better defensively just over the last couple of games, has had the odd mishap, but overall has been very sound defensively. Was one of Bichette's shortcomings. You do want to see him be a little bit more consistent, has been a little bit of a streaky hitter this year. And you maybe want the OPS to go a little bit higher, but with Bichette being in a contract year is kind of exactly what you're expecting from Bichette. So in a year where you're having a lot of players overachieve and play better than expected, Bichette kind of playing exactly where we want him to be isn't the worst thing for this ball club. And we have had in history, we have had some Botember months. If you have another Botember, I mean, this team might be an absolute lock to win the American League East.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? We haven't seen a necessarily explosion from Vladdy or from Bo yet. So are those coming?
And we haven't even seen Santander play baseball pretty much.
That's right. I just wanted to go over a couple more that I found. In OPS, George Springer sits 16th. In batting average, Alejandro Kirk sits 9th. Ernie Clement sits 15th. In runs, Vladdy sits 19th. I talked about the hits, obviously. And then in doubles, Bo sits 14th. Addison Barger's actually up there as well with 20, sitting 20th. And then on base percentage, Vladdy sits 9th in all of MLB in on base percentage. So just some interesting ones there. George Springer also, his on base percentage, he sits 22. So I just wanted to throw a couple more guys into the mix to give the Blue Jays a little bit of shout outs for where they sit in all of the MLB. And it shows how good this last stretch has been, because I looked about a month ago and nobody was sniffing the list besides Bichette on the hits, obviously.
Even still looking at those standings, like there's really not that one guy that's sticking out that's having like that superstar season, like that Aaron Judge, that Jacob Wilson, Jose Ramirez. You can kind of continue to go down the list on really a lot of baseball teams. While you do have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you do have those superstar caliber names. They haven't necessarily been giving you that production to be in that, this guy has been carrying the Toronto Blue Jays. We haven't really seen that from one player specifically. Yes, you can point out that George Springer has been unbelievable. Addison Barger, Vladdy has been good, but there hasn't really been that one guy this entire season that's been carrying the Toronto Blue Jays for a significant time period. So that goes to show that this team is really firing on all cylinders, and it has been a by committee approach, which is a lot easier to sustain than just one guy carrying a baseball game every single game, time in and time out. We're seeing what's happening with the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge is starting to fumble just a little bit, still having an unbelievable season by any other MLB player standards. But when Aaron Judge isn't hitting, the New York Yankees aren't playing very good baseball. And we're starting to see that team start to crumble a little bit in front of our eyes. So that's one thing that kind of goes with this sustained success notion with the Toronto Blue Jays, is that it's been literally every single player, no matter who you put in, that has been producing for this baseball team. So if you get just a couple of these guys every single day producing and coming up with big hits, that will give this Toronto Blue Jays a chance to win more games than not. So let's just dive into this Chicago White Sox series, game 2 of this series. You got the Hound on the mound versus Aaron Savali. I'll say it, certified bum on the other side. I think this is a game that the Toronto Blue Jays need to have, especially with Adrian Houser, who has had a very good season and has, again, this season, in the last time the Toronto Blue Jays played the White Sox, has been pretty dominant against this lineup. So I think you want to win for sure a series against the White Sox. I absolutely love a sweep. I mean, this team, they sweep the Chicago White Sox. You might as well just sweep the Athletics as well and go on, just win a million games before the All-Star break. But I got to win here. I had to win when we did our kind of series predictions before. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, you had the Jays losing this game, which surprised me. But after that first game, have you changed your mind, or are you still going with the unfortunate loss of the Jays here?
Screw it.
Let's
Blue
go.
Jays. I'm going Blue Jays all the way. I don't care at this point. I'm not trying to bring any negativity. So Blue Jays all the way. Let's go. Keep the win streak alive. Carter, you know what? We've been, again, going forever because it classic Toronto Blue Jays fashion. When they're playing great baseball, we want to talk longer about them. But, you know, we don't want to keep the people forever. So do you got anything sort of to end this episode off and leave something for the people?
No, that's pretty much it for me. Just be on the lookout for, again, we're going to confirm our 999 challenge probably by the end of next week or end of this week, early next week. And then just be on cue for some of the trade deadline episodes that we will be having, some after All-Star, the second half predictions. We'll be having a ton of content firing at you guys during that week. And then up until then, obviously, we will be continuing to post episodes up until far into the off season, Monday through Friday. So we aren't going anywhere, and we appreciate all the support that we have gotten recently, whether you guys are new or have been tuning in for the last year and a half that we have been doing this podcast. We appreciate every single one of you guys. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully covering another Toronto Blue Jays win, making it a double-digit win streak. And we'll talk to you guys then.